Ani, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Rick. It's great to be here.
It's funny, it just seemed like the other week, and I guess it wasn't that long ago, but we were at dinner, and I was telling you about the show, and you're like, I want to be on, and here you are.
Here I am. Thank you for this amazing opportunity. I've been looking forward to it.
Yeah, well, I got to give you credit, and there's a couple guests I've had on so far. We haven't even launched yet. We're launching in a couple weeks, and trying to tell someone about something that doesn't exist yet, and for you all to take the risk to come on the show before we launch, like it actually means a lot to me, and I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're so welcome. Yeah, it's an exciting opportunity to be able to have this fun conversation with you today, and hopefully the viewers will be able to take away something positive and worthwhile for themselves.
I hope so, and I'm so looking forward to it. I know we're gonna have some fun. We're starting with margaritas.
Yes.
So you know it's gonna be fun.
Yes.
And I gotta give you credit. So I've done, this is my 5th recording. I think you're gonna be number 3 in the lineup. And you're the first guest to actually bring the drinks to the show.
Listen, I'm very particular. I like certain things certain ways. So
well, cheers to you for bringing drinks. I really appreciate it.
Yes.
These are wonderful margaritas. So hopefully I'm not slurring my speech by the end of the show. So I want to get into your background because I thought that was fascinating when I first met you. But first, why don't you just tell everybody what you do?
So today I work for Microsoft as a partner marketing manager. So I've been with Microsoft for going on 8 years now in the partner marketing capacity. And before I even joined Microsoft, I worked in alliances marketing. So I've probably been in it for I'd say 10 years now, but prior to that was in a direct to customer marketing role. And so it's been kind of a journey for me because I was kind of born into tech marketing, right? I've been doing it for close to 20 years now. Wow. So kind of the first part of my career was doing to customer marketing, more kind of like Marcom, demand gen. And then kind of the second part of my career has been really focused on alliance and partner marketing.
That's awesome.
Which has been great.
Yeah, and this show is obviously more tailored towards partner marketers. That's certainly who I have on the show. But I think, anybody with a tech marketing background can take something from the show. Because
totally.
A lot of people like yourself have not just been doing partner marketing their whole career. They've been doing a lot of other things too. Yeah. So, all right, I have so many questions about Microsoft and your other career. But first, your background, because when I first met you, I was like, I didn't even know how to say your name. And we had to ask at dinner, and I just thought it was the most exotic name. And you're like, no, it's like the John Smith where I come from.
Yeah. And there's Ani DeFranco, too.
That's right.
A lot of people who hear my name say, oh, Ani DeFranco. So I get that a lot. But yes, it is an Armenian name. And it actually was the ancient capital city of Armenia thousands of years ago, and it was the city of 1,000 churches.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, and so Ani is a very popular women's name in Armenia. And yes, if you ever go to Armenia and you say Ani Hagopian, you're basically saying Ann Johnson, right? There's a lot of Anis out there. So and funny enough, people will mispronounce my name. I usually get, Annie or some version of it, but it's just short and sweet, and it's 3 letters long.
Yeah,
so.
I'm not gonna lie. I was thinking Annie, and I'm like, but that can't be right, so I have to ask. And I'm in sales, and people think, oh, I'm in sales. I'm good with names, good with faces. I'm terrible at it, so bad. So I had to ask, and then I had to ask again as you came in today. How do you say your last name for the intro? And I hope I don't mix it up or mess it up. Well, we'll see.
You did great. You did awesome. You're doing awesome. No worries there.
Awesome. So were you born in Armenia? Were you born here?
So actually, I was born, I was the first American in my family.
Okay.
So my parents immigrated in the early 1980s and then had me. Now I'm giving away my age a little bit. And so, it's been an interesting experience, right? Being raised in an immigrant family and having that experience. And it's been a blessing in so many ways. It's really molded who I am today in the most positive way. I saw my parents come to this country with little to nothing in their pocket and be able to provide an incredible life for my sister and I, put us through college, right? And I think just even the mere fact that I've made it so far in my career and where I am today, right, is a testament to the incredible upbringing my parents gave me. A lot of the drive My father especially was always very, very supportive of really making sure that I was an independent woman, career driven, just not scared to take risks and get out there and make it happen for myself. And so, they've both instilled incredible values in me for sure.
That's wonderful.
And taught me a lot. Yeah.
It's, driven, risk-taking, family. I imagine all those things have come into play in terms of your career and where you've gotten today.
Yes, certainly.
How is it specifically having an impact on the partner marketing side?
Well, that's a really interesting question. I think for me, and I think this is just in my nature of who I am, I'm a people person. There's a lot of fulfillment I get from helping others in its most simple way that I can say it, right? And I think partner marketing is such a type of a role, and I've seen this happen where a lot of people that don't understand the nuances of alliance and partner marketing, they just assume it's marketing. But there's a lot of, I think, talent, some personality traits, some experience, right? It's kind of a soup of these things that come into play that I think really make a strong partner marketer. And a lot of that has to do with being, I think, emotionally intelligent, right? And being able to be in tune to others, because you're in a role where you're building relationships. Yes, you are doing marketing. You are bringing your marketing experience to the table. Absolutely no question. But you're also a bridge.
Yeah.
You're working with a completely different entity, right? Outside of your own company. And you have to win over the hearts and minds, right, of those people that you work with, because you need to partner with them to drive joint success. And so being able to listen, to empathize, to understand, to hear, right, are really important qualities. And to be able to understand how do you bring people together?
Yeah.
How do we all come into a common goal together and drive that unified strategy? So, I think, and maybe it's not so much my culture, although Armenians do tend to be loud and we like to gather in large numbers and party and have a great time. So maybe that has a piece to it. But, I think a lot of it comes down to your character, right? I mean, there's certain people that are like, you want to be a programmer, right? Yeah. If you're, maybe alliance marketing is not for you, right? Like if you want to be able to, again, enjoy building relationships, have a knack for it, right? Making those connections are so important.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it because, not necessarily through your eyes, but just the complexity of, when we do a lot of partner marketing programs here at Foundry, and, we're working with two different marketing organizations to get a deal done.
Yeah.
It can be two procurement processes, two marketing processes, two different martechs.
Totally, yes.
Two different political systems,
yes.
right? Like, that's a lot to navigate.
It is.
And, if you have the right connections, the right relationships, and that's with anything. I mean, even internally, I tell my reps, like, you need to build internal customers because they're going to help you navigate the internal challenges
exactly
everyone faces, right?
Totally.
Yeah, very interesting. All right, so how did you make your first jump into partner marketing? Because it sounds like you didn't start in partner marketing.
I didn't. So crazy enough, I had been doing a Marcom role. And just like anything, right, your network is just, you got to keep up with your network and have a strong network. And so what ended up happening is I was really unhappy in that role that I was in. And I said, you know what, like, I got to get out of here. And so I just started working my network and found out that somebody I'd previously worked with had joined this startup. And they were looking for, a partner marketing role. And the cool thing about startups, right, is because, they're willing to hire a little bit of the more unexperienced, right? They're looking for the go-getters. They're looking for the, hey, can we bring this person in? Are they, are they going to fit into our culture? Are they a go-getter? And so even though I didn't have that partner marketing experience, I had the connection who vouched for me, but then again, they did take a risk, right?
Yeah.
And saying, hey, we're going to bring her in because she has solid marketing background, but we feel like, she's going to do well around this partner marketing stuff. So that kind of was my jump into it. And I really haven't looked back since. And that was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's been an interesting ride because in my career of partner marketing, I've worked for the startup, right? Where I had to build the channel strategy from the ground up, working hand in hand with, sometimes they're called partner account managers, partner development managers, right? but really lock in step, right, with that role, and building out campaigns, programs, all sorts of really cool stuff. That kind of segued into Microsoft, because that partner was part of the Microsoft ecosystem.
Yeah.
And back then, I remember I was the lead event organizer for what was called the Worldwide Partner Conference, which is now Inspire.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
It's Inspire. And I just remember my first Microsoft Partner Conference, and I said, you know what? I'd love to work for Microsoft one day. It's like, it's endless partner, right? It's like, it is the...
How many years was that before you actually started at Microsoft?
That was in 2015.
Okay.
Yeah, 2015.
So, you basically plotted your course and ended up at Microsoft.
It was the North Star for me. I was amazing. Like, I'm going to make it to Microsoft one day, and I did. So
that's great.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, so what advice do you have for somebody that maybe want to break into partner marketing? They're not there yet. They're looking for a partner marketing job. You've worked at a couple different organizations. Like, what are some pitfalls they should look out for, and what are some opportunities?
Yeah. Well, I would definitely say when you're interviewing for an alliance role, you really got to ask the questions around what has the organization already done today to build their alliances? Like, really understand what stage and maturity their alliance strategy is at.
Okay.
Because here's the thing, right? A lot of the time, sometimes people can pull the trigger too quickly in pulling in marketing. Right? If you don't have a sound strategy, right? If you haven't built a foundation on your general alliances, like, you've gotten commitment from leadership, you have these actual formal alliances that have been formed, you're getting your sales teams to buy into the strategy, right? Like, you need that foundation there before you bring in partner marketing, right? Because what is partner marketing going to do? We're going to surround that strategy, right? We're going to want to ask the questions of, well, what are you trying to achieve with this alliance?
So it sounds like there's some organizations out there that bring people in a little too
early. Yeah. So you really want to ask the questions around their alliance strategy, right? How big is the team, right? How experienced are the people that are on the alliances team? Really get a grasp on that, because you don't want to step in too early.
Yeah.
But again, everyone has their flavor of choice, right? Some people may not mind that, but it could be, more than you could bargain for, right? If you do step in too early as a marketer.
Yeah, not that I see a lot of organizations hiring too prematurely, but I do know, like, I could see it being possible because, the last 10 years I've been doing the partner marketing stuff, been in B2B longer than that, but, it used to be on the fringe, and now it's more mainstream now, right? And I see a lot of organizations being like, oh, we should be doing this. But that's a good point. Like, make sure they have the foundation set up before you jump in, because otherwise you're probably set up to fail.
Totally. Yeah. And I'd also ask questions around the maturity of their actual central marketing organization as well. So keep in mind, right, we say alliance marketing, but an alliance marketer doesn't have a dedicated marketing team behind them.
Right.
They sit in the alliances organization. They may be a dotted line into the central marketing org, but again, if the marketing function within the company also isn't mature, let's say they only have one or two people, or again, I'm just throwing some examples out here, right? Yeah. That's also something to take a look at, because part of what's going to drive your success is being able to leverage that work, right?
Makes sense.
The partner lens on that work of whatever the marketing organization is producing. Because that's just very important. And then also budget too. Ask the questions. Hey, am I going to have a budget?
Yeah.
Because newsflash, if you don't have money, it's really hard to do marketing.
Yep.
Right? So yeah, that's an important point to ask, right? Is there going to be funding available, right? What's my budget going to be like? And
have you, in your past, have you worked really hard at getting those good relationships with the central marketing team and building that connection to leverage that?
Absolutely.
And the reason why I ask is I often hear they don't understand what we do.
Well, again, part of taking on an alliance marketing role is education, right? It is, you are an advocate. Just as much as you're a marketer, you're an advocate for your partner.
Yeah.
It's a huge part of it. And when you take hyperscalers like Microsoft and AWS and these other large behemoth companies who are partnering with GSIs and advisories. These are companies that are equal in size or greater, right? So now you have these two massive companies, right? So first, as an alliance marketer in that situation, you have to, first of all, know who your people are. Understand the inner workings of your own organization. And then you bring in the complexity of the partner, right? But where the real amazing opportunities do come in is, well, like what you just said, is that if I can tap into the central marketing organization of my own company, let's say, for example, the partner marketer comes to me and says, hey, I want to do a healthcare campaign, right? Or our strategy dictates that we need to focus on healthcare. I want to bring in the industry healthcare marketer on my side of the house. And I want the partner marketer I'm working with to bring in their healthcare person, right? And that's where a lot of magic starts to happen, right? Because then you become, again, that advocate, that connector, where you're stepping outside of the alliances world and you're really bringing in incredible value, right, with making these connections. So I've seen all sorts of incredible campaigns come to life just through that, you know, and building those connections.
So going back to maybe someone who's looking to jump into this space, your biggest advice for them if they're in a brand new, maybe not new to tech marketing, but brand new to partner marketing is just building those connections both in the partner ecosystem and internally.
Totally.
Would you say that's your biggest advice for them?
Yeah. I would say absolutely start there. And another thing that I would say is really important is build trust. Build trust with the partner marketer you're working with. Build trust with your partner team. Right? It's so important is that there's a fine balance of, you know, your organization is going to tell you things or ask you to do things, right? Go to the partner and pitch in this program. Go to the partner and, you know, offer this to them and X, Y, Z, right? But again, you're that filter. You know your partner. You know their business. How do you build trust, right? Hey, listen, this came across. I looked at it. I think it might be a good fit. Let's talk about this though. Right? There's an approach to doing these things. And sometimes there's been stuff that's come across where I've just flat out said, you know what, this is not going to be a fit for my partner. Great program, but here's what I would recommend if you want to land this with a GSI or if you want to land this with a certain type of partner, you probably need to make some of these tweaks. So, yeah, it's definitely
Was it hard in the COVID, you know, experience building trust, building connections in this virtual environment? Like, what was that like? And that was where my mind is going. You're saying, because in my experience, it's always been in person that's helped accelerate it. Not that's not possible. But it's been harder.
It has. And I can definitely say that it is a missing piece. I'm starting to see things open up slowly, which is really promising. Just in general, partners are doing more events now. I'm just seeing like a lot of more in-person stuff happen. But there's nothing that replaces the human-to-human, like in-person experience, right? And what that really brings in building that trust and connection for sure. It has been hard, you know, but kind of lucky for me, because I've been in roles so long, I have so many established relationships that, you know, it's kind of more of like, hey, I miss you. I haven't seen you in a while, right? Sure, have I been served up some new partners? Yes, but I also feel like we've all kind of built this immunity at this point, right? Or we just gotten used to this new world of working remote, but yeah.
You know, we've been struggling with it a lot on the sales side because we had a lot of reps that did really well during COVID, but we also know a lot of event budgets went digital. So there was kind of that windfall there. And now that the world's opening back up and we're trying to push people back out, they're like, whoa, I don't really need to go to my client's office to be successful. We're like, yeah, you do long term.
Totally.
You know, and because I'm a big believer in that. You know, it's not that you have to be on the road every week, you know, like I do in my, you know, but you have to have some sort of face time, depending on your role and what it is. But if you're in a strategic seller or you're managing strategic partnerships, there's got to be some sort of face-to-face component there at some point.
Agree.
And I'm sure someone could debate me on that, and I'd be open to that. So, all right. So fast forward, you're now at Microsoft. You're, I have my notes here, a Gold Club winner.
Yes.
So I don't know what that means, but I take it to mean you're doing well. I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah. So I was awarded that for work with a particular GSI that I had been with for, I think, I want to say 4 years at that point, and really had driven a lot of just great results, right? Through number of campaigns, sales qualified leads, MDF consumption. So had just really built that partnership to a place of excellence, really, even the rhythm of business and everything I was running around marketing with them. So I got really great recognition with being selected for Gold Club and was very, very honored.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Was it, how did you show success in that role? Because I know tracking ROI, and you don't have to divulge any Microsoft secrets here, but tracking ROI can be really hard on the partner side because a lot of times you're throwing stuff over the fence and hope that you're getting reporting back, and you don't always do that.
Yeah. So part of what I established was that really strict rhythm of business with a partner. And some of those stats were partner reported, right? So we obviously have our own tools and systems which produce results, but we also want to reflect what the partner's showing as well, right? So in that rhythm of business, we have basically, for a lack of a better way of putting it, it's a template, right, that we pull up when we talk about, the results of that campaign. And what's really great about this template that I'm talking about is it really walks through the marketing strategy from start to finish. And there's a whole section around outcomes, right, and help needed. And so there was just a vigor around that process. And so that really enabled me to not only pull in, right, what I was seeing internally through our dashboards, but then also record the partner impact, right, and from their view and from their lens. And again, the advocate piece becomes really important here because that information is dispersed throughout, when we have our own internal rhythm of business meetings, right? Yeah. When my management's asking for, hey, we want results around this sales play, or, how did X campaign perform? All of that's ready and packaged, right? Because, hey, I'm working with my partner, I'm meeting with them regularly, so I have it readily available. So it was easy to surface to the business the impact of the partner and really kind of scream from the rooftops, right? Like, look how amazing my partner is and what they're working on. And so...
But I imagine having a good relationship makes it a little easier probably to get that information back from the partner.
Yeah.
Okay. So
absolutely.
We're going full circle here.
Yes, yes. And that's where you hit the nail on the head, right? Is that there's trust and there's value.
Yeah.
Your partner, when you have to ask them to do things, right? There's an individual there, right, that has a million other things on their to-do list.
Yeah.
Sure, they're in alliance marketing and they're dedicated to the Microsoft partnership and all of that, but they have their own internal, agendas and things that they also have to fulfill. So when you're making these asks, that person should feel, you know what, I'm doing this because I'm also getting value back.
Yeah.
And that's really important as a partner marketer. It's not always clear. And what I mean by that is you have to get creative. You have to get creative and figure out, and this is where the go-getter piece comes in, this is where thinking outside the box comes in, is you got to go and figure it out.
Yeah.
You got to go and figure it out. I don't care if it's going to the central marketing organization and figuring out who you need to pull in, right? I don't care if it's figuring out where you need to find more money to fund some really amazing campaign that the partner pitched you, right? Maybe it's figuring out target lists. Maybe it's figuring out how you're going to promote your partner's event to your selling organization. But you got to figure it out.
Yeah.
And it's not always a clear charted path, right, in doing that. So that value, and for me, I really, that's a standard for me that I set for myself. When I get on a call with a partner, I want to have answers for them. And if I don't, I'm going to go find them.
It's a shame you're not in sales because I might try to hire you right now.
You think so?
Well, I mean, you're a go-getter. You figure it out.
I've been told. I actually have been told that I should be in tech sales, but I don't know. There's something about that number hanging over my head that
it never goes away.
Right?
Oh, it never goes away.
Yeah.
All right. There's a couple things I want to dig in there. Going back to what you're saying about the relationship and delivering the value to get something in return. Couldn't agree more. And I think the flip side of that also is when you have that strong relationship, they also kind of want to see you succeed. and you can't be a good partner unless you want them to succeed. And that goes both ways.
Totally.
But I've just seen so many times in my career, in my life, working with partners and customers, if I have that relationship, like they genuinely want me to do well.
Right.
And if I need the data to do well, like they'll find a way to help me. And that goes both ways. And that goes back to what you were saying, giving them the value, right, to do well too.
Exactly.
It's a two-way street. It really is. So I love the template approach though, because we did a study 2 years ago. We found that partner marketing organizations that had a documented strategy in place and just documented all sorts of things, just from our mission statement to how we market to reporting, they found much. I can't remember the stat, but I think it was at least 10 points higher return on investment in their partner marketing programs.
I believe it.
And it makes sense, right? You're documenting how we're going to go to market. We're documenting our programs, how we're going to report on this. Makes more sense internally too, and this goes back to the central marketing org, educating and sharing them on what you're doing and how you're reporting success. When you can document that, everything's just more successful.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, all right. One thing I wanted to ask is, not specific to Microsoft, but maybe just larger organizations. What are some of the challenges there? Because I think everybody was like, oh, I wish I could work at a Microsoft or Google or Salesforce. There's got to be some sort of challenges with a large organization.
Well, there are.
What have you experienced without airing the dirty laundry?
Well, to put it in its simplest form, they're really big.
Yeah.
They're complex.
A lot to navigate.
It's a lot to navigate. It's a lot of, figuring out who does what and why they do it and why they would care to work with you.
Even internally.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because keep in mind, right, you're still dealing with people that maybe have never worked with an alliance before. Or, it's just, again, they're kind of focused in their own world and they're not kind of looking this way. Because here's the thing, partner always adds value. Always. Adds tremendous value to your business. And sometimes, when you're kind of like heads down, you're only looking this way, you forget to be like, oh, well, I could pull in this partner and I could, pull in Ani and some of her partners to do X, Y, and Z. And so, I think it's the navigation. You got to know who's who to go to for what. And the bigger the company, the harder it is. There's also just a lot of complexity just because of the number of offerings and solutions we have, right? Just brings a whole other layer of complexity.
Big portfolio.
And the partner also, right? The partner you're working with. So, in the partner marketing capacity, you're going across all industries. You're going across all solutions and sales plays. You're the front line. The marketing, you're the marketing front line. They're coming to you first. Hey, Ani, I want to sponsor an NRF. Like, what's Microsoft doing at NRF? I want to go to HIMSS. Hey, I want to launch an industry campaign and, we need an industry SME to speak on this, webinar that we're doing. So they're coming at you at all angles. Now, in the history of my career as a partner marketer, I've seen all shapes and sizes and flavors of how the partner marketing role can be organized, if you will.
Yeah.
And I think you were going to get to this question. So maybe I should let you ask it.
Let's keep going. Go for it.
So in my point of view, right, if you asked me in my career, what has been kind of the best experience for you as a partner marketer in the way that your role has been organized, right?
Because you've seen a couple of different organizations probably the same organization change one or two times.
Oh, or more than that, right? I've seen partner marketing organized by geography. So let's say it's like you're aligned to New England and you're aligned to a subset of partners that have business in that region.
Yeah.
I've seen it aligned by sales play, right? So then let's say if it's, you're aligned to cloud analytics, right? Then it's like, all right, now you're working with all the partners that are specialized in the sales play, across maybe one region or maybe multiple regions. And then I've also seen the role organized by partner type, right? So ISV, channels, SI.
Yeah.
But the best experience for me has been being able to have a dedicated partner portfolio. So what that means is that I'm aligned to a partner type, right? And in that portfolio, let's say maybe there's, argument's sake, I don't know, there's 50 partners, right? I manage 5 out of the 50, right? And I am their one-stop shop.
Full portfolio.
Full portfolio. I own those partners, and I'm across all solution areas, all industries, everything. Like I'm their point of contact, right, for partner marketing.
And why is that your favorite?
It's my favorite because, and I will say this, I think when you look at segment-wise, if you're an SMB, that type of structure is not necessary because SMB is always going to be scale, right? When you go up market, more into the enterprise space, you know, I'm talking GSIs or enterprise systems integrators, you know, the business gets more complex and the size of the companies get bigger. So you really can't achieve as much when you're scratching the surface. Like you need to go deeper, right? You need to form those relationships across their practice areas, their marketing teams, and that's where you can really drive a lot of impact.
Okay.
And it makes it easier for the partner too, right? Because they know, like, all right, like this person is my dedicated go-to. You know I can go, because partners don't like a lot of change, especially once they've built those relationships. When you get pulled away, they're like, wait, what happened here? You know, I'm getting somebody new. Who is this person going to be? And so when you're able to build that trust and that depth of the relationship, it takes time, you know? And so I have just found that, you know, having that dedicated portfolio has been great. You know?
I get it because, you know, I think about my own experience here at Foundry, which used to be IDG. We used to, I mean, when I came here back in 2010, I was at Tech Target prior to that. I came into IDG, there were 3 reps for CIO. You had the events rep, you had a digital rep, and you had an integrated rep.
Okay.
And then you had 3 reps for Computer World, 3 reps for Network World, and you just went down the line.
Yeah.
So you could be like Microsoft, working with dozens of IDG reps, depending on what do you want to do in the portfolio.
Right.
Right. And that, you know, we've obviously come a long way from that. Now it's, you know, your Microsoft, you have one dedicated rep. We have a bunch of subject matter experts we can bring in, whether it's an events expert, an intent expert, and so forth. But you have one person driving the portfolio relationship. And that's one person you can call when you have a problem, you need something. And because same thing for us, this is a relationship-driven industry, advertising. Right? And I've been working with the same people for years. It's very similar to the partner side. It's interesting.
It is.
So I agree with you on that. That's interesting. So in the sales play, you could have multiple partner marketing managers if you're a big partner. Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Because listen, that one partner can be across all the solution areas. So then you have, you know, multiple partner marketers that might be engaging, which on the positive note, it does open up the partner to building more relationships. But it also kind of takes away, remember when we talked about being that filter a little bit?
Yeah.
Kind of removes that filter. Yeah. So the partner could get, you know, inundated with a lot. But there's pros and cons.
I was going to ask, like devil's advocate, is the pro that you're dealing with people that are very knowledgeable about that one particular area.
Right.
And they go deep.
Oh, totally, yeah.
And that's a challenge we run into is like you got to be an inch deep and a mile wide on the portfolio.
Right. So there's pros and cons to both.
Yeah.
But I just, you know, I have my favorites, I guess, my favorite way of doing things.
Well, I mean, you know, I think the theme of this conversation has really been relationships. And, you know, it makes sense that you lean towards that because you can drive a lot of value through relationship. You know, and if you have to pass somebody off and they really want to work with you, that can also be really frustrating to the partner.
It can.
Yeah. So, all right, switch gears a little bit. We obviously walked you through the Foundry Needham office here. Nobody here. We're still, by and large, work from home. By the way, there were a couple people here earlier. My boss is probably watching. There were people in the office. But, you know, we're still navigating this return to office stuff, right? And I know, you know, some of your big competitors have forced people back in the office. And I think Microsoft is still letting people work from home. You know, you personally, you know, what does work from home mean to you?
Flexibility. You know, I think, you know, first of all, I think self-care is really, really important. I think, you know, traditionally years ago when you had to be in the office, you know, a lot of organizations I know would build gyms.
Right.
I remember the startup that I worked for had a full-blown, I think they had a yoga studio too, which is pretty cool. Never took advantage of it because I was always busy working. But I think, for me, personally speaking, it's afforded me more time to just self-care, right? Yeah. Whether that's, exercise, whether that's, being able to do maybe like more just self-care things, right? Like whatever it can be, whatever it is that you find that is good for you, that relaxes you and just helps you personally. And it's also afforded me more time with my daughter too, right? It's really hard, you're a working mom.
How old is she?
She's almost 4.
4.
And so that's also been really great, is that I have that flexibility of, hey, I can run to daycare and pick her up, or, all that. But here's the thing, here's the reality. I do miss my team though. Like I absolutely miss my colleagues, and I cannot wait for the day that we actually have an offsite, in-person offsite. I feel like I'm going to spend like one full day just hugging everybody. Like I'm just going to be walking around hugging everyone, because it's like, I haven't seen you in years, right? Yeah. It's crazy. It's not, even though we're on Teams all the time, it's just different. Yeah. It's just different.
Yeah. So do you like pop into the office, or is it just 100% at home?
I pop in once in a while, but again, it's, I think, kind of what you described, right? It's just not a lot of people are there. I love going to partner events at the Microsoft offices. I love the partners and what they do. They always get a full house in there. So it's absolutely wonderful going to those and supporting the partners for sure. But it can be too quiet sometimes, you know, and the employee floor.
I get it. I've also loved the flexibility, and I think, it's funny because I travel around the country and go into these offices and I see a lot of them are just empty. And I don't know how that's going to shake out. I think the pendulum's swinging back a little bit. I don't think it's ever going to go back to what it was. Some companies will, but I don't think by and large. I think it's going to be really hard to retain and attract good talent if you're that company, because your competitor will just be like, come work for us and we'll give you the flexibility.
Right.
So I think companies are going to find some sort of equilibrium.
I hope so.
Yeah. And it's weird because a lot of the people I've been talking to about this question are people that used to be in the office that are no longer in the office. And I feel like we all got benefits and learned a lot from that environment. And now we're in a different environment, but we benefited from the first environment. Yeah. Where now you have a whole new generation of marketers and sales that are going straight to work from home, that never learned all the nuances and intricacies and all the skills that we frankly learned from being in the office.
They never learned what it's like to have a salesperson just walk right up to you and say, I need a marketing event.
Yeah.
I know the holidays are next month, but I need a marketing event. I do, because that's going to help me close my sales. And so those are all really treasured memories that I have.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. So I don't know how that's going to shape the next generation. I don't. It's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, it will be.
Speaking about the next generation, I've been asking the last couple of guests about AI.
Okay.
So Gen AI, obviously Microsoft's doing a lot around Gen AI.
Incredible stuff.
But technology aside, but you personally, in your role, like, are you using Gen AI? Do you think you'll be using more of it? Like, what are your thoughts on it?
Oh, absolutely. I've used ChatGPT at work already.
Yeah.
Listen, as a marketer, when you have a packed schedule and then you got to write it, you have to write some type of a promotional email, or, I can go into ChatGPT now and I'm like, put in a few bullets. I'm like, ChatGPT, help me write this email to my field sellers, make it fun, make it exciting, whatever. And what's so cool about it is if you don't like the first response, you just hit regenerate and it just keeps it keeps giving you more options. So yeah, I've definitely used it. I love it. Helps you with writer's block for sure. But I will say this, it's not an end all be all, right? I think people have this misconception of like, hey, I'm just going to go to ChatGPT and it's just going to do it all for me.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No. It'll help you. It'll help kind of get you out of your writer's block, if you will, or whatever you're working on. It kind of gives you that kind of boost, right? But then you have to go put your own voice and your own touch to it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So.
No, I agree. That's kind of how I've been using it. Is like I'll write something up, it sounds like a 14-year-old wrote it. And I'll sound nice, but then I go back in and add my personal touch to it, right? And so I think it's helped take me to the next level. But I'm still learning, I think for us, like at a sales organization, like we put our sales cadences into it, right? So we have all this email copy, like, is this effective? Is this, how does this compare to, what professionals are writing? And we're just bouncing ideas off of it. But I think to your point, like you got to put the work in.
Oh, totally.
First.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, interesting. Well, Ani, this has been a lot of fun, but I have one more question for you.
Okay.
What is one piece of advice you'd like to leave for the road?
So my piece of advice is something that we can both take professionally and personally. And as we were talking right before we started shooting, right, that wisdom comes at a cost.
Yep.
It's not always comfortable to become wise, right? And so the piece of advice I would leave is to remind folks that they always have a choice, right? I think a lot of times in life, whether it comes to your career or personal things, you feel stuck, right? Not that you are stuck, but you feel stuck, and there's a difference there. I think our mind always tries to be overprotective, right? And can come up with a million scenarios of why something can't happen or something's not possible, but it's just untrue, right? You always have a choice. It may be a hard choice you have to make, might be an easy one you have to make, but nonetheless, the choice is yours. So that's what I would leave everyone with. And I always remind myself of that. And I said, like, regardless, whether it's been my career, decisions I've had to make in my career or my personal life, and it's always propelled me forward, right? It's pushed me through some of my uncomfortable situations, right? And I've always come out better on the other end. So don't forget, you always have a choice.
The choice is yours.
The choice is yours.
Well, cheers so much.
And cheers to you.
Thanks for joining us on the road.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.